In my mind, there is a dark room. This room has in it a table, 4 chairs, and 1 light. The light hangs from the ceiling with a bare bulb. The chairs are simple in construct, a wooden frame with a soft fabric upholstery. This room remains empty save for a few momentous occasions. When one such occasion arises, the room is opened and filled, one by one, with the 4 emotions that drive myself: anger, happiness, fear, and sadness. The emotions look and sound just like me, whose mind they inhabit, and only use this room during times of emotional distress, or when a decision must be made. It was the winter of 2013, and I had just met the most amazing woman, Tori. She was smart, funny, beautiful, and most importantly, she seemed interested in me. We started talking, and over the course of a year, got to know each other. We started going on dates. I remember going to see a musical with her. Not sure which one. All I remember is how gorgeous she looked and how much I wanted to be with her. As the months went by, I would get her gifts to remind her how much she meant to me. Her favorite candy bar, just because. Soup at work when she wasn't feeling good. Ice cream at 3 a.m. because she was up and couldn't sleep. All that mattered to me was that she was happy, even if it cost me. And boy, did it cost me. What everyone else saw was a loving, doting boyfriend, but what they didn't see, or at least I thought they didn't see, was how much it would take a toll on me. I would go over to her house every night and stay with her until the wee hours, where I would then go home and get some sleep. I never got more than a couple hours a night. This went on for months as I continued to fall more and more for her every day, until I crashed my car from the lack of sleep. After that, I made the decision to make sure I didn't die, and no longer would stay at her place. I still loved her, and I would still do little things to show her. The text in the middle of the day telling her I missed her, visiting her at work to give her food, and still going on dates when work and school allowed the free time. Apparently, it wasn't enough for her. She grew more distant. There was this classmate she had who all of a sudden became her best friend, and he would hang around her all the time. They were in a group for class, but I didn't think much of it. One day I was sitting around campus waiting for Tori to get back from class. She stops by to tell me she needs to go work on her group project with her classmate and leaves. Not more than 10 minutes later, my buddy walks by and tells me he saw her sitting with her classmate just down the hall, but with her head in his lap. I try to brush it off, but at this point, with just how she's been acting, I know something is up. I confront her about it. She looked at me and told me that she had slept with him. At the time, I didn't want to believe her. Or if I did, I wanted to forgive her and salvage what we had made together. But in the end, despite how much she said she loved me, she wouldn't leave him. She told me she still wanted to be with me, but she continued to sleep with him behind my back. In the end, I left her. 4 figures walk in. "That fucking bitch! How could she do this to me?" Anger's face was red, his voice cracking like bones on concrete. "She was everything to me. To just throw it all back in my face, who the fuck does she think she is?" The other emotions looked at him. Each had thoughts about the situation, but anger was the quickest to voice them to the group. From the corner of the room, barely heard, came a whisper. "I don't understand. I did everything I could. What did I do wrong? I was there for her every time she needed me. I just don't get it." Happiness looked up from the table. His gaze pointed at nothing in particular. A smile passed his lips. "There were so many times that filled me with joy. The apple orchard, the concerts, all the time spent talking for hours. It was all magical." Fear spoke up, his voice trembling like a rope bridge stretched across a ravine. "What if I wasn't good enough? How will I live without her? Can I even move on?" The room filled with silence for not more than a minute. The air grew stale and felt like wet wool filling their lungs. As time passed, the tensions in the room grew, the emotions growing more aware of the lack of thought. Happiness was the first to move. With a vacant look, he simply stood up and left the room, the door slowly swinging as it shut with a soft click. There was no happiness in this situation. Even the memories could not outweigh the trouble that I was facing. The negative overwhelmed the good like a cat with a mouse. The discussion, or statement of thoughts rather, went on for some time, nearly 2 years. The emotions making their way in or out of the room, happiness never returning to this topic, like a sock that lost its pair. Anger slowly made his way out, only to return with a renewed vigor at random intervals, each time becoming more heated than the last. Fear realized that there was nothing to concern himself in regards to her, and sadness stayed in that room.